I'm worried Star Trek is creating a James T. Kirk problem in Strange New Worlds Season 3. Captain James T. Kirk is one of the most iconic characters in Star Trek history, a bold, daring leader who helped define the franchise from the moment he first sat in the captain's chair of the USS Enterprise. But in Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3, there's growing concern that the series is walking a fine line with its portrayal of Kirk. As much as it's thrilling to see Paul Wesley take on the role in this prequel-era show, Strange New Worlds may be creating a Kirk problem that could destabilize its strongest elements and dilute the character's mythos. Kirk's expanded role risks overshadowing Pike. The heart and soul of Strange New Worlds has always been Captain Christopher Pike. Anson Mount's performance as the wise, compassionate, and often introspective captain provides a refreshing contrast to more action-first commanders like Kirk. Season 1 and 2 thrived on this quieter leadership style, showing that a captain doesn't need to be reckless to be compelling. But with Kirk being featured more prominently in Season 2 and expected to play an even larger role in Season 3, there's a risk that Strange New Worlds will shift its focus too far away from Pike. This isn't a slight against Paul Wesley's portrayal. In fact, his take on Kirk adds new layers to the character. But when one legacy character begins to overshadow the original star of the series, that's a red flag. Pike's eventual fate, foretold in Star Trek Discovery, already casts a long shadow over his story arc. If Kirk's presence continues to grow, Pike's journey might become little more than a stepping stone to the TOS era, when it should be standing firmly on its own. Kirk's timeline presence is becoming messy. Another major issue is Strange New Worlds' increasingly murky approach to timeline logic. We've already seen alternate timelines, near-future scenarios, and reality-bending episodes that have featured Kirk prominently, including a future where he becomes captain of the Farragut rather than the Enterprise. These alternate versions are interesting, but they muddy the waters around when and how Kirk is supposed to rise to prominence. Season 2's finale left things particularly complicated. With a major cliffhanger and Kirk involved in yet another dramatic arc, the question becomes, how much of this Kirk is canon? And how much of it is bending time to the breaking point for narrative convenience? The more Strange New Worlds plays fast and loose with Kirk's timeline, the harder it becomes to reconcile his appearances with the man we know he becomes in the original series. It also risks turning Kirk into a multiversal cameo machine rather than a character with a defined and grounded path to the captain's chair. Kirk isn't earning his legacy. He's being handed it. Perhaps the most frustrating part of Kirk's portrayal in Strange New Worlds is how frequently the show seems to tell us who he is, rather than showing us. Paul Wesley's Kirk is brave, clever, and decisive, all qualities we expect, but there's an air of inevitability around him that makes his development feel rushed. When the original series introduced Kirk, he was already a legend, but we came to know him through his actions. Strange New Worlds, by contrast, leans heavily on characters talking about his future greatness. It robs Kirk of the opportunity to earn his legacy on screen. The show seems eager to fast-track his ascension, showing him matching or even surpassing Pike's experience in some episodes. This unearned elevation risks cheapening both characters. Pike deserves to be the focus of his own series, not just a prequel footnote to the Kirk era. Strange New Worlds should trust its own premise. Strange New Worlds has been widely praised for blending episodic storytelling with strong character development. It's a series that has proven capable of carving its own path, honoring Trek canon without being shackled to it. That's why the increasing reliance on Kirk feels like a step backward. There are countless rich, unexplored character arcs still waiting on the bridge of the Enterprise. Lon Noonien Singh has a fascinating connection to Kirk that could be explored in more innovative ways without relying on constant cameos. Uhura's development as a communications prodigy has only scratched the surface. Even Spock, who has a long and complicated friendship with Kirk in the future, should be allowed to grow into that,